Hi boys and girls, today we are going to learn how to make a very simple breakfast of scrambled eggs. All you need for scrambled eggs are eggs, a little cooking spray or butter for your pan, and a little bit of milk. So first off, I'm using a non-stick pan, which I already lightly coated with some cooking spray. You could use this, or you can use a little bit of butter for your pan. Okay, so I used that Pam cooking spray. Just gonna leave that there for now. I don't have the stove on yet because I'm going to prep my eggs, which I already cracked 2 eggs in a separate little bowl. My general rule of thumb is for each egg, you want to add 1 tablespoon of milk to that. To me, milk adds a nice fluffiness to the texture of the eggs. So since I have 2 eggs, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of milk to that. Okay, so I'm going to carefully measure out 2 tablespoons of milk. Okay, so I have my tablespoon measure, eggs and milk, and I'm gonna take a fork to mix that all together really quick. Okay, so I'm gonna beat my eggs, break up the yolk, and incorporate the milk. So everything's gonna be nice and fluffy. Once you see that your egg yolks are totally broken up, you should be good to go. You can start to heat up your pan. Okay, so like I mentioned before, we're using a non-stick skillet with a little bit of cooking spray that I already sprayed the pan with. Again, you can use a little bit of butter if you prefer. I have a gas stove at home, so I'm going to put my heat on, medium heat. I'm just gonna quickly take the pan off so you can see the gas stoves do have a flame. If you have an electric stove at home, you may have coils or a glass top. I'm gonna let the pan heat up for a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna do the water test to see if the pan is hot enough to add the eggs in. If using the electric griddle, you can heat the griddle to 375 degrees, and then you can do the water test on the griddle. Okay, so a few minutes have gone by, so we're gonna do the water test. What's the water test? That's simply when you drop a few drops of water on the pan, then when you hear the pan sizzle, you know that you are ready to rock. So, like I said, we're using medium heat. So I'm gonna pour my eggs in the pan, nice and slow. I'm using a rubber scraper to get all the eggs into my pan. And then we're gonna let them cook for about a minute before we start to stir. So once you start seeing that the eggs are scrambling, you're gonna take your rubber spatula and you're gonna start to move the eggs around. Okay, so these are called curds. The folds in the eggs are called curds. The faster I move the spatula around, the smaller the curds are gonna be. The slower I move the spatula around, the larger the curds are gonna be. So you really don't need to cook the eggs for that long. Once you see the eggs are starting to dry, you can turn the heat all the way down, or you could even remove the eggs from the heat because the pan is still very hot. They're still cooking. Now I made small little curds, and believe it or not, these eggs are already done. So once your eggs are done being cooked, you're gonna take your rubber spatula and just lightly scrape off any excess egg from the pan. Now I recommend using a rubber spatula so you don't scratch the nonstick surface. You want to let the pan cool for a few minutes, and then you're going to run it under cold water in the sink so the pan cools down before you start to wash it and dry.